Hey, what's up? This is Joe. I'm back in Querétaro, Mexico, about 600 miles south of the border. And I wanted to make this video to kind of address a lot of questions that I've gotten as far as obtaining the visa and the paperwork for the motorcycle before crossing the border into Mexico. It's something I've gotten a lot of questions and comments about. So in this video, I've really made an effort to sort of explain every step of the process, how much it costs, and why I'm doing things the way I do. I'm gonna kind of take you on a breakdown of the last week that I spent in South Texas. I experienced yet more mechanical problems when my bike had a really weak sounding idle. Fortunately, over the winter, my buddy Road Glide Renee had introduced me to a couple of people who were really big fans of the channel. So I gave them a call. They took me in, said I could stay at their place, use their garage. They fed me. So it was just a great experience, which is always welcome before, you know, going on a long, crazy trip like this. I hope there'll be some useful content in this video to anybody who's maybe interested in going to Mexico on a motorcycle, or maybe just interested in the process. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. And as usual, I've included an optional donate link in the drop box if you'd like to contribute to this project. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the road. Picking up from last week's episode, we find our man in McAllen, Texas, a stone's throw from the Mexico border. From all the way back in Florida, the preparations for Mexico had begun. The first order of business had been acquiring some items as would be hard to obtain down there, such as GoPro batteries, books in English, specialty vitamins, etc. I tried to think of anything I might need and have it shipped ahead so I could pick it up along the way. As I started getting closer to the border, I began crossing off a list of scheduled maintenance tasks on my bike. I had yet to change my oil and filter, and still needed to troubleshoot an issue which was making the bike sound weak at idle. I returned to the same spot where Scooter Tramp Scotty and I had been kicked out of a few years back to try to relax and formulate a plan. Following an uneventful night in my forbidden spot, protected on 3 sides from the wind, I headed into the city to see about an oil change. I'll mention here that the wind was blowing a constant 20 miles per hour plus, and in spite of my best efforts to stay clean, this became an unnecessarily messy job due to the gnarly gusts that seemed to come at random. I knew I shouldn't have worn my good clothes. I'm getting some of my last taste of authentic American food before I cross the border. Scalisi's Chicago-style pizzeria. I've been really good on my diet for like the last 2.5 weeks, and I've been fixing stuff on my motorcycle, so it's time for a cheat day. Been here for a few days. I've spared you a lot of the like basic kind of running around type of stuff that I usually do, just simply because to me it's boring and I'm always in kind of a hurry to get everything done. I'm not going to be able to cross as soon as I'd hoped. Still having a fueling issue, and I think I've got it narrowed down to a little 5-way T that connects the starter valves to the map sensor. I'm here a little longer than I thought, so now I've got time to kind of like show you guys a little bit more of what I do. Already what I did was some basic maintenance stuff. I changed the oil and filter, shaft drive fluid. So anyhow, this is my spot. It would be nice if I could just cut all these thorny limbs that are hanging down. Those are actually pretty essential as far as like camouflage and breaking up the silhouette and stuff like that. So if I get a couple of scratches on the way in, so be it. On this spot, fortunately, I've got the sound of the highway to sort of mask any, sound. The wind every day has been like a steady at least 20 miles an hour. with some gnarly wind gusts, which is not bad on, you know, a short trip, just kind of running around the city for, you know, 10 miles, whatever. But the wind gets really annoying when you got hundreds of miles to cross and you're in a time crunch. That's when the wind really, really, really gets annoying. There are other places I probably could stay, but this with the walls around it is, you know, pretty much out of the wind. I'm not really sure where it comes from, but I'm generally very reluctant to ask for help. This attitude is probably based on a misplaced sense of self-pride, but in my type of lifestyle, I've had to learn the hard way that when someone offers you tools and a place to stay, you take it. Again, looking at the prospect of tearing my bike apart in an open parking lot, I got in touch with some folks that my buddy Road Glide Renee had introduced me to earlier in the winter. When I explained my situation, they said to come on by. With a yard full of car parts and motorcycles, it wasn't hard to find the house of Slick Scooter Rick, about an hour east of McAllen.
There he is.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Oh, chilling, man.
I'm wondering was that wind is something else.
Oh my God, dude, I haven't seen wind like this since I was in Wyoming.
That's why all these windmills are out here, man. When I get a good pile, I'll load it up on the truck.
Yeah.
And take it to go sell. That was the one that was in the van.
In the van?
Yeah, and
Oh,
the stock was down here, and the pump was wrapped around those two little parts.
What did it look like when you took it out?
Oh, it's terrible.
Was it?
That right here is... Well, you still see a little shininess in there, but...
The 5-way T I'd read about was located under the air box, which meant removing the gas tank yet again, as well as a number of really tricky Phillips-like screws that were actually of a totally different shape, the Japanese industry standard. It was conspicuously missing from my toolkit and extremely hard to find at the local hardware store. They're a nightmare to try to attack with the standard Phillips head, given the Swiss cheese-like consistency of the fasteners, making them extremely easy to strip out. Within Rick's toolbox, we found the closest approximation of a JIS driver and got to work loosening about 25 extremely delicate screws. His dad was an auto mechanic and he'd grown up working in his shop. It was a good thing, too.
This on that way you can see better?
Yeah, thank you. Where I'm at now. This has got to come off, all these throttle bodies underneath each one of these, and then a bunch of vacuum lines going from the starter valves to the map sensor, and a 5-way T under there that tends to get clogged. As soon as we removed the bottom of the air box, the problem became apparent. So just took this cover off. You can see the wires right there, exposed wires. Looks like a rat or a mouse or something has been living in this thing. We replaced the Eaton section with fresh wire and shrink wrapped it up, then wrapped both sections with electrical tape. It was nice having Rick with me on this job. Not only did I appreciate the company and potential for a ride in case something went south, but his experience of working on cars went a long way to filling in the gaps of my own mechanical ability. So this is the 5-way connector. Basically, each one of these connects to the starter valve on the throttle bodies. This one goes to the map sensor, and if I try to blow through it, I'm like Dizzy Gillespie, my cheeks blowing up. Gonna take these nasty, crusty hoses off, replace them with some new ones, try to clean this little 5-way T. So with Slick Scooter Rick's help, we got these wires repaired. This was the nasty section that we took off. Got it wired up, so hopefully this cylinder will be firing the way it's supposed to. Until then, just got the airbox cleaned up, about to put the bottom on. I'm gonna do these by hand. I just feel a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait.
Do it. I would have got it eventually.
So you're gonna go down to Mexico, then you're gonna come back in a month or two.
2 months.
Sturgis?
Yep. Brake pad time.
You got that?
Got that. Yep.
You do one piston, the other piston will pop out.
That's what happened. Yeah.
So then the two, you can slide both of them at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, try it again. Looks like it's working.
Got some steaks going here real good. I've always had to work. I've been working since I was 15. My dad was a jack of all skills, a master of none, and he passed that on to me, so I was able to learn how to weld and torch and do carpentry work and do electrical work and plumbing work.
And do mechanic stuff.
And mechanic stuff, yeah. So, pretty much. 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay, so I'm outside of La Casa de Slick Scooter Rick. I'm gonna follow him. He's on his way to work. With my mouse problem now under control, it was time to head to the border to obtain my visa and temporary importation permit for my bike. Since Rick was going to work nearby, he offered to give me an escort to the border. Hola. ¿Cuánto es? Just obtained all my paperwork and stuff like that. Basically what I'm gonna do is take you guys on a breakdown of what exactly had to happen. This is actually one of the most painless border crossings I've ever done, so I'll probably be coming back through this way when I actually do cross. But I like to get this done before I actually cross, so that when I do cross, I can just ride, get as far south of the border as I can, and not have to worry about this. Sometimes it can be pretty nerve-wracking. I'm now gonna explain what I just did. The first thing I just did was find the immigration office to obtain a Mexican tourist visa, which is good for 180 days and costs around $30 or $40 US. To obtain this, you'll need to show a passport or passport card. It's also possible that you can use the new enhanced licenses, but I have talked to someone who said they had problems. You'll sit in a small room with no air conditioning while a girl with a bubbly personality smiles and processes the visa, then head to the Benjercito office, which is usually next door, for the vehicle importation permit. For this, you'll need your registration, driver's license, passport, and the 180-day tourist visa you just scored, you lucky dog. They'll take a look at these items and send you to a guy whose job it is to make copies of these things. You'll give him 20 pesos as a tip, then return to the front of the line. There, the value of your vehicle will be determined by the latest in technological advancement, based solely on the year, and you'll leave a deposit between $200 and $400 US. The deposit for my ST is always the same, $300. Provided I return within the 180-day time frame, I'll get this deposit back when I cross. Additionally, there's a processing fee of around $50 for the permit. This may all sound pretty complicated, but wait, it gets better. If you're crossing the border alone for the first time and lacking Spanish skills, it'll likely be a trauma-inducing experience. But if you look around the room, you'll probably find that you're not the only person with no idea what the hell's going on. Since we live in an age of digital translate apps, if you run into trouble, open up your phone, speak into the microphone what you want to do, and let the translator do the rest. Following this protocol, you should have zero problems. When you return to the States before the 180-day time frame, you'll go back to the immigration office to surrender your visa, then wait in an ungodly line for someone to take a picture of your VIN number, take the ticket inside, and get your TIP deposit back. It's worth noting here that although I'm returning back into the United States temporarily, I did not surrender my visa. After you've obtained these items, you can go back and forth freely from the US and Mexico, provided you're still within the allotted 180-day time frame. After I finished up in Nuevo Progreso, I headed back across the border to a Casa de Cambio, the money exchanging place. These are everywhere in South Texas and easy to find. Okay, so estamos en la cocina de Josie and Rick, and she is nice enough to say hello to all your fans.
Hello.
She's nice enough to make what I mentioned was one of my favorite dishes, which is arroz con pollo. It's absolutely one of my favorite, all-time favorite dishes from Mexico because it's delicious. and just very simple ingredients and make something spectacular with it. So, and we've got our frijoles and agua de Jamaica. So, ya estoy en Mexico. Arroz con pollo. In spite of all we'd already been through, Rick was pretty cool about letting me change my radiator fluid in his garage. I'd been seriously dreading this job due to the necessary removal of plastics on one side of the bike. As I was to find out, the process was actually rather painless, so long as one had an extra mess of plastic fasteners on hand. There she is. You got a little socket that'll fit that?
I certainly do.
Only thing is, this is green. This is blue. That stuff's blue.
Green and blue will make what, purple? Here it all looks nice and clean. Your overflow.
That's good. Yeah.
So yeah, that looks clean.
So you don't think it'll mess anything up to add that blue?
I don't think so, man. It's coolant.
I was a little concerned since we had two colors of coolant, so I called up my buddy Joe Sparrow, who's got a Gold Wing with over 500,000 miles. His advice, mix a cap full of each and see if they react. Since they didn't foam up or set fire to Rick's house, we continued the procedure. All right, so we just replaced the coolant. Hardest part of this job was getting all that plastic stuff off of there. Should be ready to go. With my maintenance checklist officially completed, injectors firing on all cylinders, and my papers in hand, it was about damn time to return to Mexico. Or so I thought. I've been messing around with my hydraulic clutch. It feels like it's disengaging closer to the handlebars. This is what it did last year when the slave cylinder was starting to go out, but I'm not noticing any loss of fluid, no air bubbles in the systems. I don't know if I'm just playing a trick on myself because my bike's been breaking down. Maybe I'm just looking for things that are going wrong. Nothing to do but just ride it. See you on the other side. Whether my mind was playing tricks on me or if my clutch was indeed disengaging closer to the grips, I couldn't just stay in Texas working on my bike forever. There reaches a point sometimes in a journey when you just have to say screw it and ride on. After debating the situation back at the gas station for a few moments, I gathered my thoughts and rode across the border.